Hello, my dear friend. Today, I'll take you to a journey with Winning People Over book. So grab your coffee and let's dive in. Remember when dealing with people that you are not dealing with logical creatures, but emotional beings. Creatures full of evil, pride, and vanity. Criticism can be a spark that causes an explosion in a powder keg. General Leonardo Wood, for example. Criticism and being denied from going with the army to France was a blow to his pride that hastened his death. Thomas Hardy, one of the greatest novelists who influenced English literature, harsh criticism made him abandon novel writing forever, and it drove the British poet Thomas Chatterton to suicide. Benjamin Franklin, who lacked insight and tactfulness in his youth, became a diplomat skilled in dealing with people and was appointed as America's ambassador to France. Do you know the secret of his success? He said, "Instead of speaking ill of anyone, I will mention the best I know about people. Any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most of them do. One should be understanding and tolerant. As Carlyle said, the great man shows his greatness by the way he treats those who are less than him." As Dr. Johnson said, God himself does not judge man until after his death. So why should we judge him during his life? There is only one way to make someone do anything you want. Of course, this method is not through pointing a gun at them. With a child, you can make them do what you want through threats or hitting, but all these methods have undesirable complications and consequences. The famous Vienna doctor Sigmund Freud, the greatest psychiatrist of the 20th century, says, "Everything we do stems from two motives, the sexual drive and the desire for greatness." American professor John Dewey put it differently. The deepest drive in human nature is the desire to be important. You, dear listener, what do you want? Every normal person eagerly aspires to health, food, sleep, money, feeling of importance, well-being of their children. Lincoln says in one of his speeches, "Everyone loves praise," while William James said, "The desire to feel important is what distinguishes humans from animals." Abraham Lincoln says, "Sick." Izzy Malroney, a former New York police inspector, states, "Today's average young criminal is filled with a sense of importance, and his first request after being arrested is to see those horrible records that made him a hero." The undesirable prophecy of taking the hot seat in the electric chair seems distant as long as he can contemplate people who look like Babe Ruth, LaGuardia, Einstein, Lindbergh, or Roosevelt in pictures. If you tell me how you feel important, I'll tell you who you are. That determines your character. John D. Rockefeller, for example, gained importance when he spent his money to establish a modern hospital in Beijing, China, to care for millions of poor people whom he never saw and who never saw him. Meanwhile, Dillinger gained his sense of importance by being a highway robber, killer, and bank thief. He was proud when police officers were chasing him and said, "I am Dillinger." Yes, he was proud of being a public enemy, saying, "I won't harm you, but I am Dillinger." The difference between Rockefeller and Dillinger is how each of them obtained their sense of importance. Even George Washington liked to be called Admiral of the Ocean and Viceroy of India. Catherine the Great refused to open letters that weren't addressed to Her Royal Majesty. History pages record how Mrs. Lincoln pounced on Mrs. Grant in the White House and shouted at her, "How dare you sit in my presence without being invited to sit?" Many mental patients in U.S. hospitals make up a larger percentage than all other diseases combined. But what is the real cause of madness? In fact, half of mental illnesses can be traced to specific causes like syphilis that destroys brain cells, brain disorders due to alcohol, and injuries. So why do these people go insane? The question was posed to a director of one of the most important mental hospitals, a doctor who had received medals of excellence and awards for his professional expertise. He frankly said he didn't know why people go insane, but he said, "Many people who become insane find in it a sense of importance that they were denied in the real world." Then he told this story. "I have a patient whose marriage was a disaster. She longed for love, children, and social status, but life destroyed all her hopes. Her husband didn't love her and refused to even eat with her, forcing her to serve his meals in his upstairs room. She had no children and no social status. She went insane, and in her imagination she divorced her husband and reclaimed her maiden name. She now believes she is married to an English aristocrat and insists on being called Lady Smith. As for children, she imagines she gets a new baby every night. Every time I visit her, she says, 'Doctor, I had a baby last night.' The doctor says, 'If I could reach out and cure her of her insanity, I wouldn't do it because she is happier in her state of madness. So, some people are so thirsty for a sense of importance that they go insane to get it. Imagine the miracles that could be achieved by giving people understanding of this aspect. To my knowledge, there are only 2 people in history who each earned a salary of $1 million annually, Walter Chrysler and Charles Schwab. Why did Andrew Carnegie pay Schwab $1 million annually, or more than $3,000 daily? Was it because Schwab was a genius? No. Was it because he knew more than others about steel manufacturing? No. Charles Schwab himself said that many men who worked for Carnegie knew more than he did. Schwab says he received this salary for his ability to deal with people. Schwab said, "The greatest asset I possess is the ability to arouse enthusiasm among men. The way to develop the best in a person only comes through appreciation and encouragement. Nothing can kill a person's ambitions like criticism from those above them. I have never criticized anyone. I believe in the value of incentivizing people. But at the same time, I hate mistakes. If I like something, I am excessive in approval and generous with praise." This is what Schwab does. He said, "In all my extensive relationships and meetings with great scientists, the great man who praised his position, he gave the best he could in the spirit of approbation, but he does so while criticizing." What Schwab said was one of the prominent reasons and methods that led Andrew Carnegie to his remarkable success. Carnegie praised his companions in private and public, even praising his assistants on their tombstones. He wrote his own epitaph. "Here lies a man who knew how to gather around him men who were more talented than himself." Edward Bedford, one of Rockefeller's partners, lost his $1 million farm in a failed deal in South America. Rockefeller could have criticized him, but he knew Bedford had done his best. Rockefeller found an opportunity for praise and congratulated Bedford for being able to save 60% of his invested money. When Alfred Lunt played Stellar in the reunion in Vienna, he said, "Nothing I need more than giving me self-confidence." Flattery. It doesn't work with intelligent people. Of course, flattery often doesn't work with intelligent people, and it's trivial, selfish, and unsuccessful. Queen Victoria was susceptible to flattery. Disraeli admitted to constantly using it in dealing with the Queen. Disraeli was one of the most elegant, polite, and shrewd men who ruled the vast British Empire. He was a genius among his family members. However, flattery in the long run hurts you more than it benefits you. What's the difference between flattery and appreciation? The difference is simple. One is sincere and the other isn't. One comes from the heart and the other from the tip of the tongue. One is effective and the other isn't. One is universally admired and the other is universally condemned. In a statue of General Obregon in Chapultepec Palace in Mexico City, words were carved under the statue expressing General Obregon's philosophy: "Don't fear enemies who attack you. Fear friends who flatter you." The 5th King George had a collection of proverbs hanging on the walls of his library in Buckingham Palace. One of these proverbs stated, "Teach me neither to give nor receive cheap praise." So flattery is not high praise. I read a trustworthy definition of flattery. It is telling another person exactly what they think about themselves. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Use whatever language you want to use, for you can only say what you want to say." If we had to use flattery, everyone would promote it, and we would all become experts in human relations. Let us try to clarify the praiseworthy qualities in others. Then forget flattery, and give others honest, sincere appreciation. Be brave in your approval, and generous in your praise. People will value your words, cherish them, and repeat them for years after you have completely forgotten them. Those who can do this own the whole world, and those who cannot are walking a desolate path. We know that fish prefer worms, so when you go fishing, don't think about what you want in terms of strawberries, but think about what the fish wants, even if you prefer to put strawberries on your hook. Why not use the same perception when winning over people? Someone was asked, how did he manage to stay in power after leading the war? Wilson, Orlando, Clemenceau, and others were forgotten. He answered, "Staying in memory and at the top requires baiting the hook with what suits the fish. The only way to influence another friend is to talk about what they want and how to get it." Professor Harry A. Overstreet says in his book, Influencing Human Behavior, "Action essentially arises from what we desire, and the best advice that can be given to those who want to convince others, whether at work, home, school, or in politics, is to arouse an eager desire in the other person. Those who can do this own the whole world, and those who cannot are walking a desolate path. Owen D. Young said, "The man who can put himself in the place of others, who can understand how their minds work, never needs to worry about his future and what it holds for him." Remind yourself of the importance of developing this principle to increase your ability to deal with people. How do you develop this motivation? Always remind yourself of the rewards you'll get, whether financial or social, when you apply it. Tell yourself repeatedly, "My fame, happiness, and income don't depend on having minimal people skills. I must reach the maximum." Let me tell you about my friend before I conclude. I used to see that my friend was very beloved among people, with a wide social circle. I was aware of this, but never investigated or understood why most people loved him. After reading this book, one day I went out with this friend, and we were talking, and I noticed he was asking about my situation and what I did in my job, because I had a problem some time ago. I noticed he was asking about my life and conditions with genuine interest and seriousness. And when I told him about a problem or something that happened, he would stand by my side and show me the positive aspects, and that I was right. Then I connected what I read in this book with my friend's behavior, and that's when I understood the secret. I knew why he was so beloved among people, and the reason simply was that he cared about people and appreciated them, told them what they needed to hear, and did all this with such seriousness that it made the person he was talking to feel there was someone who appreciated him, someone who could show him his life's positives more than negatives, someone who could tell them the truth but without criticism. So, my dear listener, try from this moment to always tell people their positive qualities, appreciate any action they do, even if it's simple. Practice and observe during your interactions with people. Choose appropriate words. It's just a matter of practice, and then you'll possess this beautiful skill. And remember to put criticism on the prohibited list. Here we conclude our episode. I hope you benefited and share with others so they can benefit too. See you in the next video. Have a great day.